Let's sort this shit out so I don't get glare from the sun. Right. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for another episode of Reddit Reacts. So in this series, we really like to find out what you guys think regarding anything to do with choice-based games. And in this particular episode, we're going to be looking back at Until Dawn. The question being, would you like to see an Until Dawn spin-off become part of the Dark Pictures anthology? Now, just as a quick note before we get into it, this poll was put out before the Quarry was announced, and I know that a lot of people were saying that the Quarry is like a spiritual successor to Until Dawn. But having said that, it isn't part of the Dark Pictures anthology, so we are just going to roll with it as if, Until Dawn 2 was put into the Dark Pictures anthology. So, mate, did you want to go into the results of the poll?
Of course I can. So the first one is Holy Hot Sauce Christmas Cake. Yes. I'm liking the quotes here, by the way. Little side note. That got 166. And for no, go suck an egg, we have 83. So not an absolute landslide, but a considerable lead for yes, people really want to see Until Dawn Part 2. So Jack, what's your reaction to that?
I'm in the minority here. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, because I think that there's a tendency nowadays, you see this in films, you see this in TV series, where you have this absolute masterpiece and then the developers, the publishers, they all get in there and they think this is a money-making opportunity, let's just churn out a sequel. And I have very high opinions of Until Dawn, so I wouldn't want them to come back with the same characters and basically do a rehash of that, bring the Wendigos in, all that sort of thing. So I suppose that's my first reason. And two, I think it's because the Dark Pictures is its own thing. You have 5 characters, and that immediately contradicts with Until Dawn because you've got 7 or 8 characters to work with. So what are you going to do? Are you going to cut a few out? Are you going to make some of the players non-playable? I just think that there's too many things to move around and still produce, a worthy sequel to what is one of the best games of all time, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's where I stand on it. What about yourself, mate?
So I probably do agree with you, but it's there's some do's and don'ts for me. I would be open to a sequel, but under certain circumstances. So if we're talking about a full-blown Until Dawn Part 2 here, with the same characters, the same timeline, possibly like the Descent film, where once it's finished, the main character goes back and they literally churned out this pretty unnecessary second game, like you say. Um, I wouldn't be a fan of that. I completely agree with you. I hate this modern culture of churning out sequels purely for money purposes. I don't know how many times we've seen like a rehash of a Batman origin story, for example. But yeah, if it was just seeing Sam, Josh again, all that, I wouldn't be a fan of it. Like you say, Until Dawn is such a beautiful game, and I think it's best left untouched. I asked this question to Anya actually, and she was all for yes. She completely in the yes camp. Her reason being because she wants to see Megan Martin, who plays Jess again. So there's very different reasons for why people want to see a second Until Dawn. The thing I was mentioning to you the other day, the only circumstance in which I would accept Until Dawn Part 2 is if you had the same lore, possibly the same lodge, and it was set, the same area, but maybe you chose a different timeline. So we know that with Until Dawn's backstory, you've got the story with the miners. Imagine a Dark Pictures anthology game where you play as 5 miners down, and then one of you resorts to cannibalism and starts turning into a Wendigo, and it's set in the 50s. I think that would be a really enjoyable game, and it wouldn't step on, the grave of Until Dawn too much, but it would be very enjoyable. So yeah, I don't know what your opinion of that is, Jack.
Yeah, you know what? It does sound, it does have some merit to it because actually the backstory of Until Dawn is one of the main reasons I like the game. It sounds really fully fleshed out. and you've got the whole sort of Native American voodoo stuff going on with like the Wendigos. So you know what? If it was a prequel, and actually speaking of prequels, we'll go on to one of the first comments that we have on the poll from VideoGem13, who says, yes, The Inpatient 2, let's go. Even if we can't afford copyright, a straight sequel to Until Dawn, at least give us a spin off or cameo in the Dark Pictures anthology somehow. So, what are your views on that, mate? Have you played The Impatient? Because that does sort of serve as like a prequel to Until Dawn.
I have not at all, and to be honest, the impatience something I've not really looked into. But if this is like a separate project and there is something already for it, my only hope is that it doesn't, intrude Until Dawn too much. I wouldn't want a game that went in there and altered the story or the background of what the Wendigos are. So yeah, to be honest, my opinion, doesn't really exist here. So do you know much about this Impatient game, Jack?
I really don't, but I wish I did, because I mean it would be good to see the whole, because I think it's set in the sanatorium, and you see a character called Jefferson Bragg, who I think in the game ultimately dies, and then when you play Until Dawn, you see his like dead body on like a chair or something. So just to build those little connections in and to give it context, I think I'd really like that. But having said that, I'm an Xbox guy, so I wouldn't be able to get it on console per se. So I'd have to look it up on YouTube. But that's something that I would like to do. Yeah, okay. So he then actually comes back and says, it just depends on what people want. I'd rather have something than nothing. But plenty of people be pretty upset and offended if we got anything less than the original. So is that something that you sympathise with, mate?
To be honest, I really respect Video Gem's comment there, and really thankful there for commenting in. I would disagree though. Like I said before, Video Gem also mentioned about maybe replaying just as 5 of the original 8, but I don't know. I'm disagreeing with these points. I think, as I mentioned before, these games are best left untouched if they're great. I really just want to respect them for what they are, and sometimes you really have to know when the end is the end. I would rather have nothing than something that, was almost pointless or had half meaning to it. Uh, yeah, how about you? Would you almost think that Until Dawn is just this great game and we should just leave it the way it is and we shouldn't bother with sequels and prequels, mate?
Um, on the whole, yes, but I would say that I would be open to things like Easter eggs. Like if you could have like a Dark Pictures anthology, maybe it's set in like an apocalyptic world. Maybe it's sort of there's been a nuclear war. There's litter all over the place. It's completely barren land, and maybe you're sort of walking through as these characters, and you find this stake in the ground or something that just says Washington's Lodge on it, and you know that you're in the area where obviously the characters of Until Dawn were. Maybe there could be like a secret cave entrance to where the Wendigos are. There could be graves, things like that. I wouldn't mind. But yeah, I'd be tempted to say no to a full blown sequel, because I think it's just best to leave it as it is and go and do your own thing. So
Yeah, it's interesting you've mentioned that, mate, because Video Gem has also commented saying, yes, an Easter egg like revisiting the Washington Lodge would be amazing. Compromise. Loved experiencing the Blackwood Sanitarium 1952 outbreak and the Impatient and Spring again, just like with Mike. So yeah, this is something that Video Gem would be interested as well. And that's the thing. I think you can pay respects to games by revisiting them with a little Easter egg, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go all the way out your way to make a massive video game, potentially jeopardizing and compromising the art of it. So yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, just like to say a quick sort of thank to Video Gem, because we did actually have quite a long conversation on Reddit, and we'll put all the comments up on the video as we're speaking. But yeah, mate, did we want to move on to the Juice is now Lucy's comment?
Yeah, we can do. So the juice is now loose. What a name, by the way. Hats off to you, sir. I just want the OST on Spotify. Icicle Elegy is a banger. Now, I listened to it just beforehand, and you are right. The soundtrack is phenomenal. And maybe the juice is now loose is simply trying to say that, kind of agreeing with us, we don't need an Until Dawn Part 2. The game's beautiful as it is. Just give us the soundtrack on Spotify. I wouldn't mind that. I'd listen to that on the way to work. I don't know about you, Jack.
Yeah, well, at the minute we're currently going back through Until Dawn, aren't we, for like an ep by ep analysis. And I've been watching like the first couple of episodes, and one of the things I've noticed is the score, like how brilliant it is, and how they sort of drop it in sort of certain patches and moments in the game, and it is something I agree with. And it's obviously like that particular one. It has like flashbacks to when you meet the stranger, and he's like giving you a plan as to how to rescue Josh from the shed when you've got all the Wendigos about. So yeah, thanks for the comment. The juice is now loose. That's a great name. And yeah, we'll move on to, I hope I pronounce this right, Nata Lucir, their comment. So they basically said, it's literally never going to happen. Supermassive Games does not own any part of the Until Dawn IP. It's 100% owned by Sony, and the publishing rights for the Dark Pictures are now owned by Bandai Namco. Besides, if there was going to be an Until Dawn spin-off, then Sony would just get another studio to develop it, and it would likely be a PS exclusive. So, thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I mean, as kind of like brutal as the comment is, I think sometimes it is good to get a comment like this, which is a nice reality check. I think sometimes as fans, we can just live in the dream world too much, where we're like, oh, we want these games to come out, we want this. But sometimes you need someone like Natalusa to just come in and say, nah, this is where the rights are, it's not going to happen, just to snap us out of the dream world a little bit, because we might be waiting for this game for 10 years and it might just be wasted emotions. Yeah, I don't know about yourself there, mate.
Yeah, he actually sort of touches on this a little bit, saying that the original Until Dawn came from passion, not a paycheck. It wouldn't have the heart. And you know what? I mean, I'm sort of on board with this, even if it doesn't happen, because I'm in the no camp, right? So obviously, the majority of the people from this poll are probably going to be pretty pissed with that comment. But like I say, you've got the Quarry coming out. It's quite clear, even from the trailer, that there are ingredients of Until Dawn within that. And for me personally, I find that satisfying enough. We don't need to rehash the old story and the old characters.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. So yeah, I don't know about you. I'm happy to end the video there. Thank you for the three of you who commented in on, and for the massive number of you who voted. We had 249 votes, and honestly, the vote did not go the way I expected. I thought it was going to be a lot more 50-50, to be honest, and I thought the no camp was going to be a lot bigger than it was.
Yeah, I've got to say that I agree. Who knows? Maybe that opinion could have been changed now we have the Quarry that's been announced. I don't know. But yeah, certainly surprising to me. It's been a couple of times now where we've been in the minority for these, mate. So maybe going forward, we should be thinking a little bit more pessimistically when we come to these videos.
I think we might have to, mate. All right, okay, guys. Well, thank you for watching this video, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. See you in the next one.